would you like to know about me, sir?
I would like to know if you have puppies.
Before that.
What would you like to know about me, sir? I would like to know if you have puppies.
Imagine you're at home, asleep in your bed. It's 2 a.m. Your significant other is asleep next to you. Your child is asleep in the next room. Suddenly you hear shouting outside. 3 armed police officers are outside your house, shining lights, shouting at you to exit your home. You've done nothing wrong. You're afraid. You comply with their orders because they're the police. There's 3 of them, armed with the authority of the government, so you go outside. They order you onto the ground. They place you in handcuffs. Once in custody, you recognize one of the officers. As it turns out, he's there to intimidate you, and also to ask about your puppies.
Police department. Let me see your hands. Put your hands out the window. Step outside. Look away from me. Look down.
This happened on August 2nd, 2020 at the residence of Shane Glover, who was there with his girlfriend and their sleeping child. These officers showed up to Shane Glover's home after Glover had attempted to talk to Officer Jermaine Smith earlier that day about inappropriate comments Smith had made about Glover's girlfriend. Prior to approaching Officer Smith, Glover called 911, telling dispatchers that he knew Smith was a police officer and he didn't want anything bad to happen to him when he approached Smith to talk. But Smith drove off before Glover was able to make contact with him. Just hours later, Officer Smith and 2 of his buddies showed up to Glover's house to force him out of his home at gunpoint.
That way. Get on the ground. Hey. Quick cover. Hey. Let me see your hands. Come on out.
Come on out. Come on out.
Come on out. I got you.
This way from baby right there.
What is wrong with y'all? People are sleeping, man.
Everybody back. So you can right here, stand right here.
Hey, cuff her.
All right, you got cuffs?
Come with me. Come with me.
Sir.
Officer Smith can be heard on the video asking Glover, who is now standing outside in his underwear, if he was making threats. This is referencing Glover's attempt to confront him earlier in the day. Glover denies making any threats. Smith says, "It's all recorded, and they say you were looking for me." One of the other officers says, "You've got to expect consequences."
Come on. I got you.
I just called up there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Making threats?
No, I ain't making no threats.
No. It's all recorded, man. They say you were looking for me?
No, I said I was up there. I just came up there because Jessica called and told me that you asked about my dog. So I just come up there to ask you what was going on about the dog.
Hang on. I'm going to explain that to you. Hang tight.
Because there ain't no threat. I don't call the police department, talk to the supervisor and all.
I got you. He explained it to me. He told me exactly what you asked for.
Yeah.
So
I asked about you and why is you sending stuff towards the lady and my old lady. That's what I want to know.
Right.
The officers eventually uncuffed Glover and his girlfriend and left the property. They were not charged with any crimes. The officers weren't even in their jurisdictions. The Orangeburg County Sheriff's Office has jurisdiction over this area, but they were never contacted for assistance. So they actually asked the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED, to investigate this incident. An investigation was opened and is apparently still pending. The police officers were Holly Hill, South Carolina officers Jermaine Smith and Jacob Boland, along with Santee, South Carolina officer George Chappelle. I'll go ahead and fast forward about some of them. All 3 of these civil rights violators are no longer employed by the respective police departments, according to the Post and Courier newspaper. Officer Chappelle apparently lost his law enforcement certification in May of this year as a result of misconduct allegations related to lying about being late to work and random drug test screening. Now, Officer Bolin was fired in March for violating unnamed department policies. The police officers were Holly Hill, South Carolina officers Jermaine Smith and Jacob Bolin, along with Santee, South Carolina officer George Chappelle. I'll go ahead and fast forward some about them. All three of these civil rights violators are no longer employed by their respective police departments, according to the Post and Courier newspaper. Officer Chappelle apparently lost his law enforcement certification in May as a result of misconduct allegations related to lying about being late to work and random drug test screening. Officer Bolin was fired in March for violating unnamed department policies. But then guess what? He was hired by the Berkeley County Sheriff's Office in June. Officer Smith resigned for unnamed reasons in June of 2021 and now works for the Colleton County Sheriff's Office. He's now been placed on administrative duties, apparently, pending the outcome of the SLED investigation. We know about this incident due to a lawsuit that was just filed a few days ago by South Carolina attorney Justin Bamberg, who is also a state legislator in that state. He gave a press conference and released this body cam footage. One of the most bizarre parts of this incident is that this tyrant officer is simultaneously flexing on Glover and also inquiring about his puppies he saw in the back of his truck. Maybe that's just a South Carolina thing. It's like a parallel universe where everyone can get along when it comes to squatting your trucks and hunting dogs. And I say this as having met a big pit bull named Joe Boo from Orangeburg, South Carolina.
What would you like to know about me, sir? I would like to know if you have puppies. Before that,
What would you like to know about me, sir? I would like to know if you have puppies. This is the most ridiculous situation, and I've handled a lot of situations, okay? Horrible situations, right? That's one thing, right? Not that it's okay, because it's not. If a traffic stop goes wrong, right, and someone gets shot, or if there's some other active situation. But that's not what we have here. We have a group of, and what conversations they had with each other, we don't know, but we're going to find out. But we have a group of officers, all of whom are outside of their jurisdiction, which means it's no different than me or you going out there like this.
The lawsuit, filed on August 1st, alleges that Officer Smith and his comrades showed up at Mr. Glover's home that night to flex on Glover after he made perceived threats against Smith. They did not have arrest or search warrants. Neither of them were ever charged with any crime. They were merely kidnapped out of their beds by individuals wearing police officer uniforms and driving taxpayer-purchased police cruisers.
They don't go get a warrant. All this threat talk is nonsense. That's nonsense, because if anybody truly thought there was a valid threat, then the proper processes would have been followed. They would have immediately called a magistrate judge like you always do and got a warrant for threatening a public official or something like that. But that was all nonsense. What this was the epitome of an improper, illegal, unconscionable flex.
As I've explained many times at this point, a man's home is his castle. It doesn't have to be a brick home. It can be a single-wide trailer, an apartment, or even a hotel room. The police cannot arrest you in your home without arrest warrant. They cannot arrest you in someone else's home without a search warrant. Any entry or violation into the sanctity of a home is presumptively unconstitutional, as explained in the 1967 Supreme Court opinion in Katz v. United States. There are only two valid exceptions to that: consent and exigent circumstances. Consent is explained in the 1973 Supreme Court opinion in Schneincloth v. Bustamante. Exigent circumstances is detailed in the 2006 Supreme Court opinion in Brigham City v. Stewart. Even assuming that a threat was made earlier in the day by Glover, as Mr. Bamberg correctly explained, the proper response to that would have been to seek a warrant from a judge. Police officers did not get to be judge, jury, and executioner. There was no warrant here. Thus, it's irrelevant, really, whether a threat had been made. Even if it had, that pales in comparison to what happened here, which was essentially a kidnapping at gunpoint, among other things. As always, thanks for watching. You'll find more information in the link below at my blog at thecivilrightslawyer.com. If you have a video you want me to see, please send it my way. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss updates or future videos. Please like, share, and comment about this video. It helps the channel It helps the mission of exposure, education, and accountability. If you want to support the channel, please consider clicking the join button and becoming a channel member or sponsor. Remember, freedom is scary. Deal with it. See you next time.